All right, so today we're working on how to whip a rope. Not whip a rope or how to whip a whip, but basically if you ever had a piece of cord or rope or a string or even your shoelaces or something where the end starts getting all frayed and messed up, there's a way that you take some fine, this is a number 6 bank line. It's kind of a thin, tarred cord that you do basically a round lashing, which I'll show you how to do, around the end of a cord, and then we kind of burn the end. What's up, warriors? This is Kyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training, here to share with you some warrior skills and drills that anyone can learn and everyone should know. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and thanks for stopping by. If you already follow us on social media and that's how you found your way over to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button and the little spot where it says all notifications, so YouTube will let you know when the next video drops, and you get all sorts of cool content from here as well. With paracord, it's basically 7 strands of cord inside of this, whatever color you find, sheathing. And when you cut it, you see the strands, and if you don't tie it off at the end, it starts to fray and just becomes a big mess. But because it's so thin, you typically just take a lighter, you burn the end so you see it start to melt, lick your fingers, or you don't have to lick your fingers, but you just kind of like mush it all together so it melts together and it seizes the end so that it doesn't fray. When you have 5/16 nylon solid braid utility cord or any sort of like cordage that's going to be thicker, you're going to burn the end also, but you start trying to mess with it with your fingers, no good. If you don't get a good seal or a good seize on the end, it'll start to fray again. So I'll show you how you kind of seize the end by using what's called a whipping. All right, stay with me. All right, so before we start though, what you're going to need is some, and you could use any thickness of this cordage, but again, if it's going to be something that when you cut it explodes into a bunch of small strands, you're going to want to have some sort of system in place before it just becomes a real mess and you start wasting a bunch of cord, especially the expensive stuff. So you're going to need some cord. I'm using 5/16 nylon solid braid utility cord. I'm using number 6 bank line. I have my knife to cut it with, and I'll show you how I use that. I have a lighter to burn the ends. I have just some paracord, which you don't even need for this, but I'll just show you in close again one more time how to seize the end of paracord. My coffee, because I don't leave home without it, and some water because it's a little hot out today. All right, so just to show you again how when you cut paracord, what it looks like on the inside and how easy it is to seize the end. So if you notice, you have like these little fibers, these I'll take the smaller piece just so you see these strands that are in there, right? So they're easily, they melt real easy. So I'm going to toss that piece, but otherwise I would seize the end of the piece I'm cutting that I'm going to use, and I'd seize the end of the piece that I'm cutting it from. And all I do is, with my lighter, melt it a little bit. You'll see it start to melt. Sometimes it'll catch fire. If it catches fire, you just blow it out. I lick my fingers a little bit, and I just very simply seize the end. So now you have no sharp points. If you have any little hangers hanging off the end, they'll burn off real quick and easy, and you're good to go. That's how you seize the end of paracord. Piece of cake. All right, so now, for instance, see how it's a little bit jacked up right out of the gate? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my first whipping here, so I can kind of keep it really tight together, like the end of a shoelace, and it keeps it nice and tight, and so you could, weave it through the holes of your sneakers or whatever. So I'm going to put my first whipping here, and I'm going to measure about 4 feet. I'll put another whipping at the end, and then I'll show you how we cut it. Now, in order to do the whipping part, I take my number 6 bank line, and you could use thicker line. So you're going to mess with a few different kinds, but I hope you can even see this, but when I start lashing it, you'll see. And I start with about a foot or so, and this you don't really have to seize. You could if you want. I seize it once I'm done doing the whipping. So the way whipping works is I take a small loop and I'm going to put it like so. The whipping, like the flugel binder, I think that's what it's called, the thing on the end of your shoelaces. The flugel binder should be, you could either go based on the same length of what you see at the end of your sneakers, on your shoelaces rather, that's fine. A rule of thumb is it should be about the width whatever diameter of rope it is. So like this is a 5/16 rope, I should have a 5/16 whipping. You could do a little bit more, you could do a little bit less. It's something you kind of mess with in practice, and you get what's comfortable, works for you, and it's pretty fun though. So I start with a loop that's probably, I guess, double or triple the length of the whipping I want to make. So all I do is I just fold it, and I put the loop part at the top. And I'm going to start my whipping from the bottom of where I want the whipping to start and start working down the line. And all I do is I take the working end, I'm going to wrap around, and once that I get it around once, my second time, again, I'm working up the line. I make it as tight as I can. And I'm working up the line, keeping the cord as tight as I can. See that? Now you could dress it up by kind of pushing it down so it stays nice and tight. It'll tighten up a little bit when we finish the lashing. And now, when I get to this part here, where I have my loop that I started with, which is at the top, like in the direction I'm working toward, and I'm going to take, I don't know, I have about an inch or so. I have at least the length of the whipping itself left over. I put that through the loop. Now, the tail on the bottom, the other end of that loop before, I'm going to pull that, which now it cinches in that tail that we were working with. And then as I pull it really tight, it's going to pull it into, pull this thing tight, man. Sometimes I use a, if I have oh, there we go. There we go. It's a whipping. Sometimes I'll use my, a multi-tool like pliers or something like that. And then you're just going to cut the end. And then I just seize the ends. What I do with tarred bank line, it's pretty easy. It'll melt a little bit. And I kind of mush it into itself to make sure that it doesn't unravel. The way the lashing is designed, it should not unravel anyway. And this is just kind of so I don't have anything just hanging out on the end. Dress it up, make it neat, make it look like something, take some pride in it. And that's a whipping. And now the way we cut this is like so. If you sit there trying to cut through this, it's going to make such a mess. It'll go, but see what a mess? Or you take a piece of wood or something to baton it with. You place your knife as close to the whipping as you can. And I'm just going to, usually I do this closer to the end of the stump so that my hand's not flat on the stump. And from here, just going to, there you go. Now, anything that's left over, oh my God, don't spill my coffee. Anything that's left over, I'm just going to burn it. And watch this. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Now, I usually try to cut it a little bit closer. Or if you're new at it and you don't want to mess up your whipping, you could start it further. And all I'm doing is just slowly burning off the edges. What I want is, and I could use either the log that I was using for batoning, you could use the side of your lighter. I just wouldn't use my hand because when this stuff melts, it's very, very hot. And man, it'll burn you. Well, you'll only do it once. So if you want to try it, go for it. But it'll only happen once. And we take it and you just kind of, make it neat on the end. Roll it so that it's, again, like a flugel binder, make it nice and neat. If it's still too big, you burn it down a little bit more. And that's basically how you whip a rope. So now, no fraying, and I could tie knots with this all day long. Even if the middle starts to get loose, or the braiding, like you're working some knots and it's kind of getting a little bit messy, no sweat, because the end is not going to fray. And you just pull your rope real tight, like yank it apart from itself, and it finds its way back. And that's a whipping. Pretty cool, right? Right now, where I just measured out about 4 feet of line, because that's what I'm going to be using for trying various types of knots and lashings and bends and things of that nature. Before I cut this, I'm going to put 2 whippings. I'm going to put a whipping at the end of the line that I want to keep, and I'm going to put a whipping at the end of the line that I'm going to keep in my roll, just like I did with the paracord. I want to seize the 2 ends, and in order to do that, I'm going to need a whipping at the end of my cord and a whipping at the end of my leftover cord. So again, there's my mark. Just leave my fold there. I take my number 6 bank line, and again, I'm just going to cut, this time I'll cut 2 pieces, about 1 foot in length, Here's one. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Leave my knife on the side. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. All right, so now, again, I basically fold this over. All right, and remember, so starting from here, okay, check this out. Starting from here, I know that I need to work my whipping back up, right? So what I do is, this is the part that I'm keeping. So I take my loop and I put it toward my, my standing end, I guess, the part I want to keep. The end that I'm about to cut gets the two tails. The part that I'm going to keep gets the loop. The part I'm going to cut gets the two tails. And all I do from here is, again, I fold it in half. Not in half, but I fold it a little bit, twice, 2 to 3 times as long of a whipping as I want to keep or create. And I'm going to wrap it around. And again, I do this as tightly as I can. The tighter, the better. And when I say tight, it means that I'm trying to pull it tight around the rope. And I'm trying to keep it tight to itself so there's no spaces in each wrap of the lashing. I should work my way up. All right, now, this piece here, the tail, I could pull it down a little bit more so I have some more to work with. And this piece here goes right through the loop. I get it into the loop, I pull it nice and tight, and now I pull it through so it goes into itself. I'm pulling the tail, the other tail, not the one that I followed up with, but the one that I left at the end. And what that does, it pulls the loop into the whipping with the part I was wrapping around it. Nice. That one came out good. All right. Again, cut the end, burn the end. There's my whipping. So now this is the end of the rope I'm going to keep. What I'll wind up doing is cutting right here. But if I cut right here now, this part's going to explode and fray and be a mess. So I put a whipping on this side. So I take my other piece, same idea. I make a loop so that I have enough to work with. It's at least, 2 to 3 times the size of the length of the whipping. I put the loop toward the part I want to keep. The tails toward the end I'm going to cut. And I started, again, whatever is in the middle here, it doesn't have to be super close. As you get better at it, you get more precise with it. But I'm going to go around and around. And again, I do this, I try to make it really, really tight. Tight around the rope. And the wraps of the lashing tight to one another. When it's done, it looks pretty cool too. And if you do it nice and tight, it's like, wow, man, that thing's really on there. It's not coming off. All right. So now again, I'll pull the tail down, feed this through the loop. Once it's through the loop, I try to keep it nice and tight up against the wrap, the lashing. I pull this through. Again, pair of pliers or multi-tool definitely helps make this easier. It's in there. Get in there. Okay, good. I'm going to cut off the ends. We have a video on knife safety you should probably watch. I might be breaking a couple of the rules as I'm doing this. Let me know in the comments if you watch the other one or you see me doing something stupid. I'm supposed to put this away in between, but I am still using it. I'm the only one over here in my workspace. If my son was out here or my dog was over here, I'd put it away every time. Good. All right, so now, see these little threads? I'm going to burn off the little threads. Done. So now, here's the part I was cutting to practice with. Here's the part I'm going to keep. And again, it's easier if you do it at the end of your stump or your chopping block. I mean, you could do this on the cutting board in your kitchen even. as long as you have it on a stable table. Stable table? Did I just say it out loud? My God. All right, so get your knife in the middle and just whack it. There's your two pieces. And now again, to clean it up, seize the end. Now you could leave it like this, but again, it's just going to turn into a mess, and you don't want a mess. You want to look nice. Especially if you're going to be using this for lashing purposes, and depending on the thing that you're trying to lash together, and you're trying to feed this through a tight space, you know, you don't want the frayed stuff out there. It just gets hung up on stuff and caught on stuff and looks messy and caught in the grass or the leaves or the twigs if you're doing this out in the woods. So the real trick to this, guys, is just take your time. Like everything else, when we're doing our martial arts stuff, I say take your time and do it right. When we're doing our firearm stuff, definitely take your time and do it right. So we get it nice and hot, nice and melted. And I'll just roll it against something to kind of form it, make it nice and tight. Again, don't use your fingers. You're definitely going to burn yourself. And again, you could do it more than once. You do it as much as you need to till you get it the way you like it. I like to get it where it's, you know, it looks like the whipping kind of goes into the, or the burnt end kind of goes into the whipping. It helps seal the end a little bit better, I think. Could be wrong about that, but I think so. And that's it, man. That's it. It's not neat on the end. I get a little bit like OCD with this stuff. I don't know why. I should be that neat with everything I do, but I'm not. All right. Hey, let me know if you got questions, or if you have a better way to do this. I'm always, you know, I heard this really cool thing. 2 + 3 = 5. 3 + 2 = 5. 4 + 1 = 5. 1 + 4 = 5. And everybody's right, you know. There's more than one way to skin a cat, so there you go. That's it. That's how you whip the line. See that little thing on the end? Get out of there. Get it. There we go. Boom. That's it. All right, so I'm all done with made 2 ropes, 2 cords about 4 feet in length. Both of them I whipped the ends with the number 4 bank line, number 6 bank line, sorry about that. And I melted the ends to seize the ends so there was no fraying. I like to use red and blue so that when I'm doing like bends where you attach 2 ropes together, I can kind of see what I'm doing. Square knot. This new one I learned is called the Zeppelin bend. And kind of make a number 69. And one goes under, one goes over. I'm going to have another video on this stuff, but it's just, I don't know, man. I'm sitting in a waiting room with, you know, for a doctor's appointment or dentist or whatever, or Costco, BJ's online, and instead of just getting lost on my phone and just, you know, melting my brain with that stuff, I do this, make these cool knots. Check that out, man. Pretty, right? Or is that nerdy that I think it's pretty? Whatever. But and I use the red and blue because the emoji on my phone, when you put knots, K-N-O-T, shows a red and blue cord making a square knot. Left over right, right over left. And that's what it looks like. I usually put Knot Ninja, because now they got the ninja emoji too. I love it. Well, if you made it this far and you like what I'm teaching and preaching, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and like this video. If you're loving it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you gotta have it, make sure you hit the bell notification button and the little part where it says all notifications, so YouTube will let you know when the next video drops. If you're really digging it and you want more, you can find us on all social media platforms at 5 Elements Tactical. That's all I got for now, warriors. So until our paths cross again, pray for the best, prepare for the rest. I'm Kyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training. Thanks for watching.